Photographing birds from the surf and in the marshlands near the coast is the most peaceful thing I know. In a crazy world and with all the pressures of life, I'm content out here. There's the sea, there's all the wonderful wildlife, and then there's me. And I'm nothing out here. I'm nobody. I'm just trying to capture a few moments. And when I get so involved that I forget who I am, that's when I find myself. The birds of the Carolina Lowcountry are diverse and abundant, and their natural habitats abound. You can find so many different things to shoot here, so much incredible variety. But my favorite shooting is from the surf itself. There are times when you can get close enough to the shot by just standing on the beach, of course, or ankle-deep water, but I really do like being immersed in their natural element. My two favorite subjects to shoot are passing pelicans and passing fleets of dolphins, and in each case I like to be in roughly waist-deep water. It grounds me and it stabilizes me even when I'm getting bashed around by the waves. I'm not really sure why, but it doesn't really matter because I go back to it as often as I can. Now, of course, as most of you know, one issue you'll encounter with most rigs on a budget is that either the camera or the lens, or both, won't be weather resistant, in which case you're not going to want to come anywhere near waves like these. But the EM5 Mark III and the 12-200mm are both weather resistant, so you have the peace of mind that comes from knowing that a rogue wave isn't going to kill your primary rig. Now, what's so cool about this rig is that when you're done with your shoot for the day, you can just hose the rig off and pat it dry and it'll be ready for you tomorrow. Of course, in months like November, you'll also want to bring a pair of quality waders so that you can also remain at least somewhat warm and dry. If you're intent on submerging yourself in the intricate world of birding, you'll first need a good rig. And if you're like me, you'll prefer that it doesn't break the bank, nor your biceps. Now, there are plenty of camera systems costing $5,000 to $6,000 and weighing 5 pounds or more. Olympus's Pro birding combination of the EM1 Mark II and 300mm f4, which is a 600mm equivalent lens, is more affordable and lighter at well under $4,000 and just over 4 pounds. At just under 2 pounds, though, the EM5 Mark III with the 12-200mm covers everything from 24 to 400mm equivalent, and all for a lot less. So I'm here in the Carolina Lowcountry with the Olympus EM5 Mark III paired with the Olympus 12-200mm, and it's just a terrific combination for birding in a spot like this. On a budget for both price and weight. The combination for price will only set you back about $2,000, which is great for an enthusiast birding rig, especially considering that it has water resistance and dust resistance on both, and of course 5.5 stops rated IS on the body. My plan is to spend 2 entire days in the field with this combination in order to gauge both the good parts and whatever not so good I can find. This lens doesn't have onboard image stabilization, but fortunately the EM5 Mark III has 5-axis IS and is rated for 5.5 stops just from the body. So even though the lens is relatively dim while zoomed to 200 millimeters at just f6.3, the IS makes up for at least some of that loss when zoomed to the telephoto end. But of course, you can't compensate for some of the faster birds with IS, as that's solely about freezing movement with shutter speeds, which of course means sometimes having to crank the ISO. The 4/3 sensor means you get about a stop more high ISO noise compared to full frame. Everyone's different, but in my own bird photography, I want to be able to crop a lot if I have to, so that means staying at ISO 1600 or below for this setup. As you can see though, that's more than enough to freeze the motion. One limitation to note with this lens is that you can't attach a teleconverter. But we're talking about a 35mm equivalent focal length of 400mm at the telephoto end, so that's a whole lot of reach all by itself. At the same time, this lens is incredibly versatile when you consider that it zooms all the way out to the classic wide-angle equivalent of 24mm. And this can come in incredibly handy while in the field and on the go. After all, a versatile rig means not missing a shot when it presents itself. The documentary video for this piece was shot with the EM1 Mark II paired with the excellent 12-100mm f4 Pro lens, and one we've loved an imaging resource for many years now. Anytime you're out shooting in nature, you're bound to encounter other unexpected opportunities along the way. A really versatile lens like the 12-200mm on your camera means you'll be ready to capture the shots as they come. After all, you certainly don't want to ask an alligator to wait around on you while you swap out lenses. I sat right on the bank for this alligator shoot, but I don't recommend doing that unless you're really minding your surroundings. They can apparently come out of the water at a pretty fast clip. With no need to switch lenses in a tricky environment, you can have the peace of mind that comes from just focusing on being creative in the moment. And as you all already know, the longer you're in the field, the more moments you're going to find to capture. And that's the real fun, coming back with something you didn't know you'd find. The EM5 Mark III's 121 AF points are all cross type, and I found the autofocus to be as fast as I needed on the still AF side of things. Continuous autofocus lag just a bit behind in overall focus acquisition from what I've experienced with the combination of the EM1 Mark II paired with the 300mm f4 Pro. But yet again, that combination costs nearly twice what this rig will run you, and the continuous AF here is certainly fine for most situations. So you'll still come away with very good keeper rates given the price of the system. A nature photographer walks and walks and walks, and then they wait and wait and wait. And if they're patient enough and have a good rig, they finally get a good shot opportunity, and the whole jaunt becomes worth it in an instant. And having a good rig that won't break your back is a big key to the patience game, and one that keeps me out in the surf or in the field far longer than with a heavier rig. In my 7 years as a camera reviewer, I've discussed a lot of factors that relate to whether or not you might choose to buy a camera system. Weight is often overlooked, but you don't want to overlook it when you're shooting for many hours out here in the wild. So for the shoot today here on Pinckney Island, I've added the optional grip. It extends the handhold ability both here and on the bottom as well, and has an extra shutter button sort of in the front. It definitely gives you a little more stability. With this lens, it would almost be a must if you were going to shoot with the 300 f4, which is substantially larger, but it is a nice addition even with this lens that's lightweight but makes the rig just really ergonomically sound and doesn't add hardly any weight. So you're still at about 2 pounds. So let's recap what this rig is not. It's not a 300mm f4 Pro attached to an EM1X or a Mark II. Those would be Olympus's Pro birding rigs, and they're very fine ones at that. This is not as sharp as that rig. It's not as bright at the telephoto end, and it doesn't allow for a teleconverter. However, this rig is much lighter and much more affordable, and is designed either for someone just stepping into birding or nature photography, or also for someone who already owns a higher-end rig and also wants a lighter, more versatile rig in their bag for the more varied type shoots, or as a capable and rugged, lightweight second rig. So is this the most versatile photography rig ever made for the price and weight? From what I've seen thus far out in the field, my answer to that question is a definite yes. The combination of image quality and overall capabilities is superior to anything I've yet seen at this price point, and it's just incredibly versatile overall. And with a weather-resistant rig that doesn't wear me down on weight, I'm free to focus on just being out here and shooting in peace with my wildlife friends.